And welcome everybody to Off the Hook Overtime here on YouTube. Kai, make it okay?
Hi.
Good, okay. And out in Skype land, we have Rob, Gila, and Alex. You all there?
Yeah, somehow we made it.
And we can confirm we are actually broadcasting on YouTube. Well, good.
Yes.
We've accomplished quite a bit tonight. All right, so, we're going to open up the phone lines just a little bit, but I did want to talk about that Polish train story because it's such a milestone in the things that we talk about. But basically, the story begins. They did DRM to a train. Yeah, they did. This is from 404media.co. In one of the coolest and more outrageous repair stories in quite some time, 3 white hat hackers helped a regional rail company in southwest Poland unbrick a train that had been artificially rendered inoperable by the train's manufacturer after an independent maintenance company worked on it. The train's manufacturer is now threatening to sue the hackers who were hired by the independent repair company to fix it. And whoever's got that package, maybe you could mute yourself. That would be nice. The fallout from the situation is currently rolling Polish infrastructure circles, roiling, not rolling. It's hard to see the dot. And the repair world, with the manufacturer of those trains denying bricking the trains despite ample evidence to the contrary. The manufacturer is also now demanding that the repaired trains immediately be removed from service because they have been hacked and thus might now be unsafe, a claim they also cannot substantiate. The situation is a heavy machinery example of something that happens across most categories of electronics, from phones, laptops, health devices, and wearables to tractors and apparently trains. In this new case, the company known as Newag, N-E-W-A-G, the manufacturer of the Impulse family of trains, put code in the train's control systems that prevented them from running if a GPS tracker detected that it spent a certain number of days in an independent repair company's maintenance center, and also prevented it from running if certain components had been replaced without a manufacturer-approved serial number. This anti-repair mechanism is called parts pairing. It's a common frustration for farmers who want to repair their John Deere tractors without authorization from the company. It's also used by Apple to prevent independent repair of iPhones. Well, I think we're seeing the natural progression here. It's what we've been talking about for years. This kind of thing. It kind of unites everybody together. We've got farmers, we've got hackers, we've got train engineers now, all on the same side against these greedy companies that just want to milk every possible penny and control what it is that people who have already bought the equipment can do.
Yeah, the components are capable and they're sold as a feature to the manufacturer, and they integrate the designs that, when the consumer gets to them, are pretty much tamper-proof.
Yeah, and the sheer fact of a public utility like railroads having to turn to independent hackers to allow them to fix, devices that they own ostensibly, that they bought, and should have some matter of control over, especially something like trains where public safety is an issue. You have to be able to know what every bit of your train is doing at the same time if you're running a train. And the fact that people, the public utility can be locked out of chunks of their own trains' functionality and repairability, that is obscene and terrifying.
Yeah, and the fact that the company says, "Oh, this train has been hacked," as if it's some kind of an evil thing. Yes, people had to take matters into their own hands because you disabled the train. I would say that was where it got hacked, where the train was somehow disabled remotely because the conditions were not. It sounds like ransomware. The conditions were not followed. Therefore, we bricked the train and made it useless. That is not right. That is not what any company should be doing. And I think they should lose whatever license they have if that's the way they're going to run their business. Once you are in control, once you buy something, you decide what you're going to do with it. I mean, when did we lose touch with that common theory that is what purchasing something means?
And just the idea of, imagine if it were, a bunch of kids somewhere who had accessed these trains' functionality and bricked them and prevented them from being used instead of the company that sells them. If this were some random tinkerer, that person would be labeled all sorts of things. They would be a criminal. They would be a terrorist. They would be, ridden out of town on a rail. But because it's a company with zillions of dollars and control over the hardware, it's okay.
And the corollary to that too is, let's say, well, or maybe it's not a corollary. Let's play devil's advocate for a moment, right? Let's say you're the company that has essentially bricked the train. Let's say, well, you didn't have to buy this particular train. You didn't have to agree to the terms of service that I provided you. You agreed to this. It's a contract. These are terms that I'm going to enforce because it's on the basis. On this basis is how I make my money as a company.
What about selling the train? Don't they make money selling the damn train?
Well, you would think, right? But then there's a subscription model in order to update everything. Everybody wants some kind of goddamn subscription model for everything these days, whether you're selling inkjet cartridges or apparently now even train repair services have to be some kind of subscription-based product model so that you can maximize revenue. And this is the problem, I think, that it comes from private equity coming into everything and everything these days, right? Anything and everything. Somehow every last dollar and every last cent of any kind of business model needs to be squeezed out just for the benefit of investors.
But you didn't last as devil's advocate very long, Alex.
No, I didn't.
You're back on our side now.
Yeah, I know, I am. Yeah, it was like a very fleeting moment. But yeah, I mean, I think it's the product of this. And I think if you look behind this Polish company that has developed the train software, you'll probably find some kind of private equity interest that's driving this type of business model. And I think you're right, Emmanuel. I hate to say it sometimes, but yeah, I mean, this is I think, a ransomware event.
What do you mean you hate to say I'm right?
Well, yeah, I like to disagree with you more than, most people. It's just to be contrarian. That's just my nature. I mean, where you're very similar to me in that, you'd like to just be disagreeable.
I don't think I am.
Just hackers doing hacker stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
exactly right. Exactly the point. In any event, I do think this is a very ransomware and extortion-like situation where because somebody fixed something that you wanted to charge them for, you're going to brick the device. And I also tend to agree with Rob. I think that the more dangerous situation here is the lack of transparency in the technology than anything coming out of these white hat hackers accessing this and reverse engineering the software. It's totally ridiculous.
Case in point being some of the leaks with Tesla automobile and their feature development process and all of that was revealed with that. I mean, these companies are inherently handling vital systems, stuff that's heavy machinery or that can otherwise be a hazard, and themselves won't really share a lot of the inner workings. And this is like, I think this paradox we're fighting against ourselves with all the time, whether you're talking about intelligence stuff, whether you're talking about product design and or software services. It's everywhere. It seems like you can't avoid the stupidification of everything, so that it's so secret or so valuable information that we can't tell our consumers, we can't tell anybody about it, and we have to craft and do all of this stuff around cordoning it off or making the entire field of some technological development impossible for anyone to know about. And I mean, of course, some of that comes up with butts up against national security stuff. There's a lot of examples and intricacies to that, but that is part of the dual use of things like semiconductors. And I mean, I just feel like we're emerging with these capable networks and capable electronics, and the actual industry around it is protecting the information to the detriment of the people that should be aware, have technical literacy around it.
Well, we'll keep looking at that story and all the others that are bound to happen. Well, here's one actually that might be a little bit more familiar to people. I didn't know you could do this, but apparently with PlayStation you can buy films and TV shows and things like that, and watch it through your play. You guys do that? You ever watch TV shows through a PlayStation?
Not usually.
Yeah.
What's the advantage of that? Why do it that way?
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, I use the PlayStation 5 that primarily my kids use, also as a streaming device, right? Because you've got a massive amount of processing power in the PS5, right? Like way more than you would get in an Amazon Fire Stick or a Roku or something like that. So everything is very fast. Everything is seamless. You know, there's a lot of speed to, let's say, streaming something through Netflix, Amazon, etc., or just using Apple TV or buying shows or whatever you want through a PS5. It's like a really over-spec'd smart TV device.
Okay. Well, from this story at Kotaku.com, promise of digital media is that it can last forever, pristine and undisturbed by the forces of entropy constantly buffeting the material world. Unfortunately, a mess of online DRM and license agreements means that we mostly don't own the digital stuff we buy, as most recently evidenced by the fact that Sony is about to delete Mythbusters, Naked and Afraid, and tons of other Discovery shows from PlayStation users' libraries, even if they already purchased them. Yeah, the latest pothole in the road to an all-digital future was discovered via a warning that Sony recently sent out to PlayStation users who purchased TV shows made by Discovery, the reality TV network that recently merged with Warner Brothers, in one of the most brutal and idiotic corporate maneuvers of our time, but we won't get into that. Due to our content licensing agreements or arrangements with content providers, you will no longer be able to watch any of your previously purchased Discovery content, and the content will be removed from your video library. Read a copy of the email. Wow. This is why piracy is a good thing, because of crap like this, which I consider to be the ultimate in piracy. You already bought the content, all right? You paid full price for it. You deserve to keep it. You can't have it taken away from you. And I don't know if these people are getting their money back. I don't think that's the point. The point is you bought it like you would buy a book, like you would buy any other tangible item. And if you want it to be treated the same way as a tangible item, which they certainly want to do when it suits them, then you have to respect the people who actually agree to buy them. Does that make sense, Rob?
Absolutely. And this is why, like, soft media is all the rage these days. People have online accounts for all kinds of entertainment, all kinds of media that they want to have access to. But you don't own it unless you've got some kind of physical disc, unless you've got a DVD or a Blu-ray or a VHS tape. If you've still got a player for those, you can access what you own all the time, and nobody can decide from a distance to switch it off for you.
You see, this when we started doing the digital subscription at 2600, there was a no-brainer. People buy copies of the magazine. You can do whatever you want with a copy of a magazine. We can do whatever you want with a digital copy of the same magazine. And it just feels wrong to even consider, we're going to continue to manipulate this and make it so you can't do this with something that you bought. I mean, we don't want people to make 1 million copies and sell them and things like that. But you know what? That's not something we can control. We presume our readers will support the magazine. And if they don't support the magazine, obviously we're doing something wrong. So I don't know why other companies, other entities can't get this and want to continually have their hands in the pockets of people and manipulate how they use something that they have already legitimately purchased. And it just leads everyone to just say, you know what, I'm just going to download this off the dark web, and there's no content problems there. You don't even get the FBI warnings there. They edit those out. So it's a ridiculous chain of events that they're setting in motion here. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, there is an analog here when it comes to, let's say, physical copies of 2600 or books or whatever it is, because of something called the first sale doctrine under copyright law. And that essentially says when you buy a book, you don't own the copyright to the text itself, right? But you own a copyright to that particular book. You can do whatever the hell you want with that book. You can burn that book. You can mark it up. You can write in it. You can change the text. You could make photocopies, of certain portions of it if you wanted to, right? But
all portions. I mean, what portion couldn't you make a photocopy of?
yeah, sure. I mean, you shouldn't copy the entirety of the work.
No, you shouldn't, but you can. You have the ability. They can't prevent you from doing that.
You wouldn't be able to sell it.
Imagine if there was, if you copyright like page 37 of someone's book, your arm gets broken. That wouldn't be right.
Well, I agree, but the analog, and pardon the pun, I guess here, but the analog to the first sale doctrine in books does not necessarily apply to these types of digital media. And I think the reason being is because of the terms and the conditions and the terms of service and the terms of use to which you agree when you sign up for these particular services that give away those types of rights, grant unto the service provider from which you have derived this particular benefit a great deal of power, and you don't have any bargaining rights here. These are all contracts to which you have acquiesced in some way or another as a matter of adhesion by just accessing the service. Or they're kind of like the end user license agreements of software packages. Remember back in the 80s and 90s when you would unbox a piece of software, and by virtue of you unboxing this, you agreed to the terms and conditions and the copyright restrictions with regard to that particular piece of software. So you bargain this away in a sense by using these particular services, and people are going to be really, really fed up with this, and they're going to stop using those services. And I think even a couple of years ago, when these types of things were happening less and less, but as a matter of accessibility, it was just hard to figure out where you could watch whatever particular movie. And that's why I think things like the streaming media players like Kodi and then side loading add-ons for Kodi like Genesis and Exodus and these other things that essentially aggregated all of these illicit streams, these pirated streams, so that you could stream in whatever content you want, were extraordinarily popular because they were easier to use, they were more predictable and more dependable. And I think, and I fear that's where we're heading.
You didn't have to sign stupid contracts. And I think the contracts are the problem, because when you buy a book, or a DVD or Blu-ray, you're not signing contracts that sign away things that you would never want to sign away in the first place. Yet for some reason, when you download something, you're giving away all this control, yet you're still paying the same dollars. It's just not right. It's not something that I think we should continue to agree to.
I don't know.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Rob.
No, there's the idea that now when you're quote unquote buying something, you don't actually own the thing that you've just bought. And our friend Cory Doctorow wrote a blog post on this situation recently, and he highlighted this quote by someone called Tyler James Hill, and the quote is, "If buying isn't owning, piracy isn't stealing."
There you go. Can I use that, or do I have to credit somebody if I use that? I don't want to get in trouble.
I think they get a quarter every time you use it.
Damn it.
That is an amazing paragraph before it, though. And hey, we're on YouTube, so one could quote it out loud if they really wanted to.
Oh, you mean using cuss words and stuff?
Oh, it is. Can I read it though?
If you want to read it, go right ahead. I won't stop you. Then Kyle after that.
Sure. Zaslav deserves to be staked out over an anthill and slathered in high fructose corn syrup. But save the next anthill for the Sony exec who shipped a product that would let Zaslav come into your home and rob you. That piece of shit knew what they were doing and they did it anyway. Fuck them, sideways with a brick.
Gila, I have never heard you talk that way. And we've been in all kinds of different scenarios, including one like bank robbery, which we won't get into here. But wow, you read that well. You read that very well, and those are powerful words. They really are. And there's no other way you could say that.
This is why I felt it necessary to share.
Now,
part of the access has been driven just by software piracy, and I'm thinking back to the history of like serial numbers and how a lot of that emerged. And I think that's where we ended up with a lot of hosted services. There was imminently more control using the networks where people are presumed connected all the time. And those schemes were deemed better than having whole copies in the box, like Alex said. So I think the history is worth noting, and it's sort of interesting how it's driven this idea of, well, this dilution of the sense of property, and especially when we're talking about digital items for like things like books and publishing. I think like the spirit of our attitude, I mean, we should be so lucky if people are reading so much and pirating and sharing all kinds of knowledge. That actually, beyond, I mean, other forms of media, maybe it's less important, but there's still ideas and stories being told in those things that if you make it eminently, like with region coding and all kinds of other barriers, you make it impossible for people to create understanding in their worlds through these networks and through heightened, knowledge. And anyway, so it's all, I think, just making us dumber.
Absolutely. Go ahead, Gil.
First of all, just wanted to say hello to the 51 people who are currently with us.
That's huge. That's more than we've
YouTube.
ever had before. Wow.
That's why I wanted to say 51. But also wanted to share something that one of our listeners wrote in and said, piracy isn't stealing, it's copyright infringement.
I have feelings about that. The act of what you would call piracy, and I can illustrate this with some completely legitimate use of the series of steps you would take to pirate something. Mm-hmm. Some time ago in this household, we had to switch out the cable box we had, and that cable box was also a DVR unit that saved the things you recorded on it locally. And lots of debate and laws and things over the years had enshrined your ability to record things onto your personal media at home since the VHS days. And we had things on that DVR that you would never find a purchasable release of. And so I spent the day before we had the appointment for the worker to come and swap this cable box out for us, just playing the stuff off the DVR, running it through a video capture device, through a computer that was running Handbrake and some other things, so we could save local digital copies of the things we had recorded. If we were going to be traditional video pirates, we would then upload those somewhere with BitTorrent or what have you. But we weren't. We were just keeping our own copies of things we recorded legally. And that was infringing no copyrights. That was exercising our own rights as recorders of the material. And we still have it. We would not have it had we just let them take the box away.
Do you know how hard it is for people to do that, though? I mean, in the past, with a VCR, you just hit record, it's on the tape, and you can play it anytime you want. But now, ask yourself, okay, you've got your DVR. Many times it's not stored locally. Many times it's stored at the cable or satellite company. But okay, you want your own local copy because you're canceling their service. How do you do that? And I guarantee you 99 out of 100 people will not know how to do what you did. And I'm going to ask you later how to do what you did because I need to do that too.
Sure thing. There was something similar when a family member passed away, and there were voicemail messages that folks were interested in saving, mm-hmm. and we had to run the call through a recorder so we could get our own WAV files of these things before the service was shut off, and therefore the messages lost forever.
In the past, you had an answering machine, and you could just hold on to the cassette and make copies at your leisure.
Absolutely.
Wow.
So wanted to throw something else in from the chat, which is a listener who is jumping into the chat for the first time, but who emailed us on the show recently, said, would love to call in, but is currently making a song out of last week's show. Guess what I sampled?
I don't know, but I hope you got permission. Because Alex is a lawyer, and, we'll stick his ad. No, we're kidding. We're kidding. Do whatever you want.
And I do have a guess about what it is. And if I had to guess, I would say that it is you, Emmanuel, saying, was it gay furry hackers or furry gay hackers?
I talk about gay furry hackers once and the whole world goes ballistic, First of all, I didn't make it up. It's a real thing. And all kinds of serious security people out there are writing papers and symposiums on gay furry hackers. All right. Deal with it. It's a thing. It's happening. And there are going to be more of them too.
Just the resonance with the way that you said it. Also, we're at 57 right now.
Oh, it's out of control. It's out of control. I don't know what's
It's
happening.
amazing, and there are new people participating in the chat tonight, which is great.
The magic of overtime is that so few people knew about it, and now somebody told you to keep it quiet, and now it's ballooning. All right, you know what? We'll try and keep the magic as much as possible. Yeah, should we take phone calls? I guess we can.
I'm ready.
802-321-4225 is our phone number. 802-321-HACK. Please give us a call. Let's open up to as many people as we can, so it won't take too long. And if you have a question or a comment or something you wish to share with us, great. Oh, well, that didn't take long at all. Let's see who's out there. You give me that expression, Kyle, so that tells me you know who it is. And I guess we just need to get this over with quickly. And Rebel, if in fact this is you, that giggle tells me that it is you. You just need to follow the same guidelines that we're issuing to everybody, where don't take too long, make your points coherently and succinctly, and let's just swallow the painkillers and get this over with. Go ahead.
Okay, let's see. There's an echo. Well, there was an echo. All right. Talking about TVs and there's answering machines that has an output, like a auxiliary, like an output for your tape recorder, like your earphone output that you could. I had an answering machine like that you could put, could record it on a tape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was back in the good old days when you could do things like that.
Right. I on TVs, I'd like to get a regular antenna and get regular channels, except, so that I don't have to worry about the 500 channels and the this and the that, because it's really annoying using a TV is like you got to have a college degree to use a TV now.
Well, you used to be able to just have.
Hello, this is Nina. Emergency interruption for 802-321.
Okay, you know what, Rebel? You were making sense for a second there, and then you lapsed into some other alternate personality. Let me just say, getting back to your TV complaint, yes, I remember the day when days when you could tune a rotary dial, and you go from channel 2.
Doesn't even have to be a rotary dial.
Well, mine was, all right, and you clicked from a 2, and you clicked over 3 because you didn't get channel 3, and you went to channel 4, and it was immediately there. It was immediately there. Here, you have to wait like 5 seconds for something to process, and there it is. God forbid you're trying to get somewhere fast. And you know what else? Here's another one of my gripes. Let's say you want to show somebody something and you want to surprise them by saying, this is a piece from NBC Nightly News or something like that. I don't know. It's going to show the title of what it is you're going to play for them. And there's very few ways that you can get around that without revealing what it is you're about to show them. And that's just one of my little pet peeves there. I'll shut up now and let Rebel talk.
What if you have a TV antenna, like a digital antenna, and not go through the cable company?
Oh, you mean if you just go through over-the-air transmissions? Yeah, you have to deal with a lot of hoops to jump through there. You have to be close to the signal. It's digital, so it won't come in at all if it's out of range. It's not like the old analog days where you could get distant signals sometimes, or a TV signal would travel a much further distance. I don't know what you're doing with the tones there, Rebel.
Excuse me, this is 9X. I have an emergency.
All right, Rebel, you know what? That's it. Final words. Did he hang up? I think he hung up. Okay, well, that's it. One phone call per person.
My finger slipped.
You hung up on him?
Did I? Oh,
if you hung up on him, then I can't.
Silly me.
Then he gets another call.
I thought
he
was.
You don't get to do that. No. Is this him again?
I don't know.
Okay, well, let's pick this up. Go ahead. And you are on Off the Hook Overtime. Go ahead.
Yes, hi. Earlier tonight, you said that you made some changes to Hope, and you think that you addressed all of the critiques from the most recent conference.
Let me guess. You have one we didn't address.
I'm pretty confident. I'm about 99% confident that you didn't address it because you didn't mention it. It's about the workshops. And I was hoping that it would be possible logistically for you guys to record the workshops, either audio or video, preferably video. Mm-hmm. I know it's a lot of work, but obviously you can't attend all the workshops,
Right.
because there are some great talks given simultaneously. So
Well,
have you addressed that issue
there-
of
there-
recording the workshops?
There are two things to overcome here. Number one, first of all, you have to get the permission of the people doing the workshops. Do you want your workshop to be recorded? It's not the same thing as a speaker. I think most
Right.
probably wouldn't have a problem with that. But the biggest challenge is staff. We need AV volunteers that will help
Right.
with that. And if we have a good AV staff and we're able to get the equipment we need, which is a very good possibility at a place like St. John's, then yes, we can do that. But we again hope it relies on volunteers to get everything done, and AV is one of the most challenging parts of that conference. So we definitely want to do that. So let's
Okay.
see if we can pull it off this time.
Okay, and the other issue is the handouts or the slide decks that the speakers use in the workshops. I know not every workshop would necessarily have a slide deck or a handout, but if it's not possible to record the workshop, if you could encourage the speaker, if they're willing to do so, to upload their presentation, like their PowerPoint or their slide deck to the Hope website. So if I'm unable to attend a given workshop, I can at least see the handout from it. Is that a possibility?
Yeah, that certainly is a possibility. Can you summarize this and email us feedback@hope.net? That way we get it to the right people and we can start working on it early.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that. Oh, and also I know that you said tickets are going to go on sale this Friday.
Well,
I know from
limited tickets,
Right.
and the main ticket sales will go on sale in January.
Is it possible? Will it be possible to actually purchase tickets in person at St. John's the weekend of the conference?
Probably
Are you
not.
considering that?
Probably
Okay.
not, and there's a couple of reasons for that. But basically, we don't want surprises of massive amounts of people showing up that we're not prepared for. This way, we know how many people are going to be there, and it's a better situation. And we did that in 2022, and it worked out so much better than the years that we did. Basically, anybody can walk into the hotel off the street and come to the conference. And it's just, we expected this amount of people and we got that amount of people, and it just made it harder to plan.
Right. You don't want like a Woodstock festival situation.
Exactly.
obviously.
Woodstock comes to
Right.
mind. Yes, you got it. You nailed
Yeah,
it.
Woodstock or the Isle of Wight festival.
Yeah,
in
minus
Britain.
the mud, but with the chaos.
So if I can't get through on Friday, you will have multiple opportunities. You will provide multiple opportunities for attendees, for people to purchase
Yes.
tickets online. Then.
Yeah. I mean, we'll cut it off at some point. We'll decide when. But if you're early, you should be fine.
Probably after 3 seconds.
Okay. No, hopefully.
Yeah.
And just one last thing. You were talking about Sony and the whole issue of like you purchase something online. There was a case a couple of years ago. I don't remember the company, but it was 1984 by George Orwell that people had purchased it through some service.
That was
and, it
that was through Kindle.
deleted.
That was through Kindle.
Oh, it was Kindle.
Yeah, I
Right,
remember that.
Right. Yeah, it's really horrible.
It was
I mean,
very
the idea-
Orwellian. It was
yeah.
very Orwellian, and
Yeah.
they didn't seem to get that.
Right. No, they didn't. But it's a terrible thing, and that's why I guess we should always keep in mind, get a hard copy. Don't rely on streaming, basically, right? Because they, as you said, they can delete at will, anytime, anywhere, anything you buy.
And not only that, they can change it. If
Right.
something falls out of favor, they can be very Stalinistic and just go in and change the line or erase a character completely. So yeah, if you have your own physical copy, they can't do that. Kyle and I did a project where we saw every Academy Award winning film since they started giving out Academy Awards. And our thing was we would always want to get the physical copy of it, the DVD or the Blu-ray. And it wasn't until Apple released the film. Remember the name of the film? It was about the deaf people.
Coda.
Coda, yeah. They wouldn't release that on physical media. You had to subscribe to Apple Plus to see the damn film. And this was just in complete violation of our terms of service, where we say, no, we have the right to buy something and have it in our library. We had to go and buy a copy from a different country in Europe and make sure that we had a region-free Blu-ray player to play it. But it was worth it. It was worth it to have that kind of control over something that you buy.
Right. No, absolutely. Yeah. All right. Well, I will get that email out to you. You said that's feedback@hope.net, right?
That's right, yes.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, and happy holidays to all of you, and have a happy 2024.
Thanks, you too.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Great call. Again, our phone number 802-321-4225. Any thoughts from the gallery? Go ahead, Alex. Alex, your mouth is moving, but we can't hear.
No, there we go. I had to get back to the right screen there. Yeah, I had a question, really for our listeners, and maybe somebody will call in or have some ideas in the chat.
They're supposed to ask us questions.
Yeah,
you're asking them questions.
They're a good resource. They're a good resource. They're a smart bunch of people that are all just hanging out. So I figured you might as well take advantage of them. I think they have a far greater combined IQ than the 4 or 5 of us.
Are you done buttering them up? Ask the question that you want to ask.
Can't even count. That's my problem. Yeah. So I have a 10-year-old. Right. Christmas and holiday season is coming up here, and interestingly enough, and without any prompting on my part, my son is really interested in retro computing. He loves old computers. He loves CRTs. Like he just finds them really fascinating and interesting. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if anybody would have any ideas for holiday gifts, Christmas gifts for a 10-year-old that's interested in, things like, x86 computers. If I could buy him an old XT with a CGA monitor, I think he would absolutely love it. But what's the equivalent here? What should I be thinking of?
Can he handle a UNIVAC? Because I know I can get one of those, but you need a semi to get it to you.
Yeah, I know that might be the problem, right? Yeah.
Do you have a loading dock?
Yeah.
We don't have we have a dock.
Are you serious about this or not, Alex? I mean, come on, we want to help your kid out here.
I'm being really serious. I mean, if we could have like a VAX VMS system, at home, I think he would totally love it.
It comes with a punch card reader, but I don't have punch cards, unfortunately. Yeah. Gila has an answer.
Go ahead.
We're getting a recommendation in the chat.
All right. Awesome.
A listener. Wow. Okay. So a listener called the Mac Geek asks, what about a Raspberry Pi kit that he can build and program with?
That's not a bad idea.
That doesn't sound very retro to me.
Yeah, I know. That's what I was thinking too. Like the Pi kit, I think would be very, very cool. And it has a retro feel, especially if you're just using it, in a terminal session or something like that. Like we actually started doing some bash scripting the other day, and he loved it. He absolutely loved being able to create a loop that ran the fortune command every 10 seconds. And
wow. He's a kindred spirit, I'll say that, because that thrills me as well.
And by the way, I used the command fortune-o when we did it, much to my chagrin, though. I don't know if you know what fortune-o does.
I haven't typed that flag. I know what fortune does. What does fortune-o do?
It only displays offensive fortunes.
They're flagged as offensive?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, on one of our Linux machines, we added Adventure, the text game Adventure, and our productivity has dropped quite a bit because people are still trying to figure out how to get through it. It's great. Text-based adventures are so much fun.
What is this manual? It's on the terminal.
It's on various machines. So we can guide you in the right direction. Gila, go ahead.
We have more recommendations. Okay, so Rebel made a helpful suggestion.
That's not Rebel then. That's got to be
it's someone masquerading as Rebel.
People do that.
It says a DEC VT320 would be good.
Yeah,
I want one first, though. I want one.
Someone else recommends the Mr. FPGA computer. Says does everything up to 486 SX25.
Oh wow! Okay, yeah.
Someone else suggests a Spectrum 48K. This is great. We should ask more questions of our listeners. They'll answer them. The Commander X16 is a new retro computer.
Oh, and see, that could be interesting.
A new retro computer.
Jay Kraft, if you could say more, we would appreciate that. He says, get the Commander X16. It's a new retro computer. Smiley face.
Okay, Rob has something, and then we have a caller who's been patiently waiting on hold. Go ahead.
Yeah, if you get one of the earlier generations of Raspberry Pi, not only will it be very good at emulating the old 8-bit stuff, but they also had a composite video out on those still, so you could hook it to a CRT that you happen to get hold of
Wow.
with minimal hassle.
That's pretty cool. That's a great idea too. And
Yeah.
I'm going to look into the Commander X16 as well. I'm going to be Googling that momentarily while we take this phone call.
And you can pair it with
No.
your monochrome monitor of choice.
That's right. Awesome.
We have a phone call.
Let's go to the phones. Good evening. You're on Off the Cover Time. Go ahead.
Oh, so you have hung up on me, Emmanuel. So
No, I
mean,
didn't
you,
do it.
Emmanuel.
Kyle's
Listen,
finger
listen,
slipped.
okay,
Kyle's finger
but-
slipped. It happens
we're talking-
occasionally.
We're talking
Let's.
about terminals
This
now.
this is considered your first call. Let's finish it up.
Okay, we're talking about old school computers now. I think you should get your kid an Informer. Well, an Informer D304 would be good, but they're very rare. An IBM, I think it was a 3270 or something. The ones with the old clicky keyboards, either that or the ones like I recommend the VT320, I think it is.
Or PC Junior. They have chiclet
No,
keyboard.
how about a TRS-80, a Radio Shack TRS-80? Does he want a push-button computer? I'm sure he does.
Yeah, something like that. Something
Yeah.
that looks kind of cool, like something that looks like an old XT. I mean, like my first machine I remember was an XT that ran at 4 megahertz with a 30 megabyte hard drive and a CGA monitor. And you know how much RAM it had?
16K. Oh, okay.
Well, it had 640K conventional memory, but 0 RAM. Because remember, Bill Gates made that famous statement. I think it was probably correctly attributed to him that he said, that computers will never need anything more than 640K conventional memory, which is hilarious when you think about
The
it.
channel needs more likes. I mean, the
What?
website, the YouTube video needs more likes. It's only one like here.
Why? What do we get if we get more likes?
I don't know. I'm just saying.
Is there some kind of payout for that? I mean, what? Who cares?
I don't know. You may get more viewers or I don't know.
What else? What else is on your list, Rebel?
Let's see. When I call 800 numbers, I used to listen when I was listening to the old Off the Hook.
Different
like
list.
from the
See,
90s.
he veered off. Yeah, go ahead. Finish this up, and then we're gonna move to another call.
I noticed that when I call different numbers like 1-800 Easy NYT or things like that, it goes to the same thing. Let's demonstrate.
Why do I have a feeling we've done this before, and not just once either?
Hold on.
I don't have control over this call.
No, nobody has control. But we're gonna let this happen, and then it's gonna get to the point where we just can't take any more, and that's when we're gonna move on. All right.
I'll move my hand, but you
Almost
gotta
at that
tell me
point
to.
now, but he can't keep us on hold forever. For God's sake, it's YouTube. Nobody wants to wait. Does he think we're listening? Because we're not. There's nobody there.
Emmanuel?
Oh, there you are. Don't leave us alone for
Okay.
so long.
Hold on. I'm trying to do.
You can't
Three-way.
three-way, can you?
Well, maybe not.
No.
You know,
no.
that's the other thing I noticed. Some companies, like when you call, I won't demonstrate, but some like companies that like telemarketers, I like to fool around with them. I'll just like they'll call you and leave a message or whatever. But when you call them back, you could three-way, go on three-way and kind of conference them in together. Sometimes it says multiple calls are not allowed. I don't know how that works.
Interesting. You get an announcement.
Yeah, no, it's not an announcement. It's something on my phone, or maybe it's on my phone, or
What kind of service are you using?
Like a service
I'm
message.
using
Is it a cell phone or a
my
land?
Android? It's a cell phone. No,
Okay.
it's an Android cell phone.
All right.
And sometimes, if I call a certain number, it'll do three-way. I could put up to 5 people on at once. But
It
sometimes
could have something to do with where you're calling, the area code, the type of call, or if they've picked up or not, or just what kind of service you have on your particular line. But it's not like it was in the old days where you could just pair lines together and you could share a ring with somebody and have, two different lines on when they pick up the phone. Those days don't seem to be around anymore.
No, it's I think when I'm doing like a three-way call, like I could do a three-way call with you, but other number, I don't think it's the particular number. Maybe the number is blocking three-way. I don't know.
I don't think you can block three-way, but a certain type of phone call might be maybe to a toll-free number. I'm just theorizing here because I haven't tried to even use that function. And, I find that most people do not know how to pair calls together anymore. And, try that on a cell phone. I guarantee you'll screw it up and have to do it again. And that's I think, the way they like it. But it's not like it used to be.
Like
I hate saying that all the time, but it's not like it used to be. It used to be pretty cool. Although you couldn't three-way incoming calls. That always annoyed me. If you got call waiting, and you couldn't pair that with another call you were talking to. It had to be outgoing.
Well, with IntelliDial you can.
IntelliDial, does that still exist even in trash cans? I don't think it does.
I mean, no. I mean, you used to.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, I actually had IntelliDial. That was a 9X service that very few people knew about.
Please call for long distance.
No, we're not going to hold for anything more, Rebel, because we've talked enough. But thank you for calling and for sharing.
You want the rates to it too?
No, do not want. I want nothing less than that. Believe me. But thank you for calling, and please be well. We'll talk to you again soon.
I want my dime back.
You're not going to get that either. Our phone number 802-321-4225 for everybody in the planet except Rebel right now. And the previous call, because you get the call once, and that he got two calls because you accidentally hung up on him, Kyle, and that's
It was a minor oversight.
That happens sometimes. So please, the quicker people call in 802-321-4225, the more we're assured that we'll get some variety in phone calls tonight, which is always a fun thing. Go ahead, Gila.
Would love to say that we have received a demo version of the Gay Furry Hackers song.
What do you mean, a demo version?
A rough cut?
A rough cut.
Rough.
Our listener is going to touch it up for a real release, but we just received it via email, and well, now I kind of want to end overtime so we can listen to the song.
We'll listen to the song after the show, and if it's really good, we'll maybe play it at some point. At some point.
What?
I don't know.
If the only words in it are Gay Furry Hackers, we could play it on air, and it could be the outro.
Right. That's what I meant when I said that, but, we
can't
make that promise.
One furry step at a time.
It's a whole thing. No.
It's just... Keep our paws.
You have no idea the steps that go through picking a song for the outro. You can't just do it.
No, it's
there
true.
Are
but
people,
all I'm saying is
you never hear their voices, but they're part of the process. All right.
I listened to 20 seconds of it, and so far it seems to fit the FCC guidelines.
And it slaps.
It does.
We have a phone call.
Okay. And good evening. You're on Off the Hook Overtime. Go ahead.
Good evening. This is Johnny Fusion.
Hey, Johnny Fusion. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Had clinic yesterday. I'm the healthiest I've been since transplant.
Awesome.
Everything's looking great.
All right.
Congrats.
But so on the show, you were talking about all these data breaches and stuff and hacks that went on. There was one this week or this past week. Antifa in Sweden released the order list of a white power music and merchandise site called Midgard.
Okay.
So, and these guys basically, they organize for Nazis. They even take place in internal discussions with the Nazi organizations. Money goes to Nazi organizations in the Nordic region. And you can see it at midgard.antifa.se. And they actually set up a nice little front end for you to browse like 20,000 sale records all around the world of who's done business at this, basically this Nazi merchandise organization.
Wow, 20,000. That's That's larger than I thought it would be.
Unfortunately, that's the world we live in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's all around the world, you said, or just in Sweden?
Well, they're based in Sweden, but they had customers all around the world because right wing and fascist ideology is growing worldwide.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I just looked at the first page, and there were orders from Sweden and Denmark and Great Britain, and that's just on the first page.
Gosh, wow. And what is it people are ordering? You said it's music?
Well, music and T-shirts and stickers and stuff like that, of all white power stuff.
What's on their website now?
On whose?
On the Swedish Nazi website. Are they embarrassed by this?
Well, I didn't want that in my history.
Well, nobody does, but some people do, obviously. But you use some virtual ways to get around that, or Tor or something.
Yeah, I mean, I always got my VPN on,
Yeah.
so there's that. So, yeah. Hey, do you have contact information for the meeting organizers for the 2600 meetings on the first Friday?
Well, we don't give out contact information, because lots of times people don't want to be contacted. But what we do list are Twitter IDs and, when available, websites. And it's exactly for this reason that we encourage people who are starting meetings to share that information, so that if you go to the meetings page on 2600, you'll be able to contact those people.
Yeah, because I've gone to the San Francisco meeting twice, and last time nobody showed up. I was there by myself.
Really? You were there the whole time, or just a particular time?
I hung out for an hour.
Okay, because sometimes, I've been to meetings where they start at 7 o'clock when it's listed at 5. Generally, the period between 5 and 8, unless otherwise noted, is a period where people are likely to show up. Rob, you probably know more about this, as you are a regular attendee of meetings.
Yeah, though they start at a certain hour, but people keep showing up. Different people get out of work or school or whatever at different times, and the gathering keeps going. I know here in New York, people are still showing up, into 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, and the food court that we're in is, still open and accessible at that point. So sometimes it takes a while to get going.
Let me just say, Kyle and I dropped by there actually the Friday after the meeting, just to hang out. That place, what Citigroup has turned into, is incredible. It's such a cool hangout. So many people are there, whether there's a meeting or not. And the really fun thing, you can buy Club Mate there. I didn't realize this. There's a German place, and you can buy Club Mate, and it's so cool to be able to do that. It brings back memories of the old days when we were a part of that.
There's so many options for food there. It's wild, and just really well used. People coming and going, and maybe after work or after school, and you just feel like this sense of busyness, and it's really interesting. So I can imagine the meetings are a lot of fun there.
Go ahead, Rob.
But yeah, to the caller's concern about going to the San Francisco meeting and having nobody else show up. Part of the beauty of the 2600 meetings is that no one's really in charge. So that means everyone gets to throw in on the sort of organizational end of it, where you can post it around to local tech forums, local hacker sort of forums, put up leaflets, whatever you'd like to do, and get the word out yourself to get more folks who would be interested in the local area to show up there with you. And you may end up spearheading a big revival of these things.
And sometimes you can't tell meeting attendees from regular people. It's it's a darndest thing. We fit right in sometimes. But if you have some kind of identifier, like a 2600 hat or a magazine or just something that indicates you're a hacker.
I wore a t-shirt.
And then also, I see the meetings. These meetings don't have any Twitter ID or website, but they've been taking place at Embarcadero Center. That's a big place. They could wander. They could be someplace else. but it's also possible that people just weren't there that month, or that you might have missed them in some way. But talking about it here definitely helps, and it tells people out there that at least one person wants to show up, and others should show up as well at the appointed time.
Yeah, well, since there's no Twitter handle or website, maybe I could just take over.
Take over is probably the wrong word, but yeah, but definitely you could be somebody.
I'll say I'll show the initiative.
Yeah, that's all. If there's an opening there, go ahead and basically use a Twitter ID, something that has 2600 or San Francisco in it, so that it's obvious that that's what it is. And of course, those of you who want to put in more effort, websites are great, because let's say there's construction or something going on at the place where you usually have a meeting. You got to tell people somehow. The magazine comes out 4 times a year, so that's 3 months per issue that we can't change if something happens in, say, the second month. So websites are great because you can just change them, and if we list the website, people will know to go there to check for any updates.
Yeah, okay. So with your encouragement, I think I'll show some initiative.
Very cool. Very cool. And that goes for meetings all over the world.
Right. I mean, yield to the hands-on imperative, right?
That's what it's all about.
Hacker ethic.
So before we move on, anything else from you?
Let's see. I wanted to talk about Midgard. I talked about 2600 meetings in San Francisco. Now, I know one started recently in San Jose, and I'm wondering if they're sucking the people that used to go to San Francisco are going to San Jose now because it's easier for them to get to.
Well, that's happened in real life. People who worked in who used to commute from San Francisco to San Jose now live in San Jose. So that could happen, but it's not likely that it's going to drain all the hackers in San Francisco, because there are plenty of them. So many, in fact. You could have meetings in San Francisco, Oakland, and Berkeley, and have plenty of people at each one. Just a question of coordination and getting the word out.
Yeah, I remember the other thing I wanted to talk about, because you talked on the radio show about the new Omni card.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still playing with the BART Clipper card. Well, it does all the transit in the Bay Area.
Clipper card. That's what it's called. Okay.
I remember that.
Okay.
I think I have an old one.
Really? Wow, it's that old.
Yeah, it does. You can get on BART. You can get on all the local buses. You can get on Caltrain, commuter train, all on one card. And it's contactless.
Uh-huh.
It has this little sensor. And it has a website. You're supposed to be able to put funds on the website.
Yeah, that's what Omni does as well.
Yeah, but here's the thing: I needed to take a bus.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't using the BART where you can get the Clipper cards, because you could really only get them at the BART stations.
Mm-hmm.
And so I put $20 on there because I had some bus trips coming up to get my phone repaired. I had to get to the phone repair shop, and it never went on, and my Clipper card balance was getting lower and lower, and by the time I had to go pick up my phone,
Uh-huh.
I only had enough for one bus ride one way.
Wow.
And so I borrowed my lady friend's Clipper card for that trip. And then, I was going to the 2600 meeting, so I walked to the BART station near my house, and it's one train all the way to Embarcadero. And I have to put money on. It still hasn't gone on the website. So I go and I put another $20 on. And then when I touch it, to tap the card when you put money on, when I went through the turnstile, I had $40 on it. It waited until the physical card got to a sensor that has writeability.
Oh, wow.
For the money run on my card.
You might have just answered a question that I had from earlier today, because I did something similar. My Omni card only had about $2 left on it. I wanted to add money to it, and I set it up so that once it gets below $10, it adds another $20. So it was already below $10. It's at $2, and I added that function, gave it a credit card number and all, and it didn't do anything. It's still at $2. So I'm wondering, is it going to do it, or do I have to actually have it working before it'll implement that? So maybe if next time I walk up to a turnstile, it'll just immediately give me $20.
If the turnstiles have write access, because, well, I guess they all need write access because they deduct funds, right?
Well, I don't think it's
So-
on the card. It's not written on the card.
I saw someone hacking it, and you can write values to the card, but it voids it after first use.
Okay, I figured the values were written someplace else in the card. We're simply accessing them.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And so, like there's a checksum, of course, but yeah, I think you actually have to put it on one of those pucks for it to actually write in the system.
Okay, well, I'm going to head
something.
to a subway stop and see what happens, because my curiosity's been piqued.
Yeah, because it seems like the cards are only really changed
Mhm.
when they interact with the little reader writers at the stations.
Right.
And it didn't do that on the bus, because I think the buses are. Because you got to think, are buses connected wirelessly? to
Well, they're not
Central
connected
Silver
with
Network,
wires.
or
I can
do
tell
they-
you that. They definitely are connected wirelessly.
But is it over radio, or do they just look for the value that's written to the card and deduct it, and then it's updated centrally at another place along the line?
With the
Or
Metro
at the
card,
end
it
of the
was
day-
it was done wirelessly. So I imagine they're doing something similar with Omni.
Yeah, well, yeah, or they do it in batches. Like at the end of the day, the buses upload the data of what rides there were or something.
I would say, but the thing that you gotta imagine is they have all these other interests. There's all this other interest and justification to have the bus be trackable and connected for the general operation of the system.
Oh, that's true, because they're always updated. Like I have the Transit app. I guess it's for big metropolitan areas.
Mhm.
Like it's the same app for New York City. It's just called Transit, and you can actually opt in to be tracked on the Transit app to make more accurate bus schedules and stuff, because they know where you are on the bus, and they update that to all the other app users.
I see. Okay. So it's a bit of a community effort then.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
All right. Thanks for
go.
your call.
Thanks for
All right.
listening.
Good night.
Good hearing from you. Wow. Okay. You know what? I didn't realize so much time had passed by, so I think we're gonna call it. But any other thoughts or adventures people had? Go,
It
Gayla.
has been amazing watching everybody. Alex, this conversation you've started, people are talking about their first computers, things they started with. And I want to give a personal shout out to my first, which was the TI 99/4A. I learned how to program BASIC on that thing. And fell down the tiniest little rabbit hole, because apparently some of them exist. eBay, Mercado, I think I know what I'm asking for my birthday next year. Very excited to know that those are still available. And Alex, I highly recommend that particular model. It is a keyboard only with a disc, with a slot thing, and you plug it into the TV, and it's super fun. And I also found that the loading screen for it, that you had to hit a key to get started. You can get things with that on it on Redbubble, and I'm very happy. So thank you.
Yeah, I'll just shout out the TRS-80 color computer too, which was my first. You always remember your first.
Amazing, and thank you both for those recommendations, and for everybody in the chat for all their recommendations. It's great. I knew we could count on the wisdom of our listeners to surpass our own.
Yes, it's an easy bet there. But thank you again for everybody who has contributed, and for everybody who has called in or has participated in the chat, or just basically listening. That's we value you. And look forward to talking next week as well. We'll be back for Off the Hook at 7 o'clock, Off the Hook Overtime at 8. Write to us, oth@2600.com. Don't forget the Hope tickets go on sale. Limited number at, I believe it's 2 p.m. on Friday the 15th. It's Hope XV. XV, of course, means 15. And that's why it's happening on the 15th. And don't worry if you don't get tickets this time around. There'll be another opportunity in January. And again, the conference, July 12th through 14th, St. John's University in Queens. Easy to get to, a lot of fun to be at, and it's going to be another historic event. All right, that's it. See you next time. Good night.